That'll do. Manchester City 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. Sometimes all you can say after a performance like that is, that'll do. We got the job done. We got the 3 points. And as it currently stands, we are 4 points clear at the top of the Premier League. I'm sure Chelsea and Liverpool will close that gap, of course. But right now, I'm a happy boy. And that is literally all that matters. In a game that we'll never remember. We'll forget that game and move on from it. But I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine. As I am with OneFootball. Guys, do me a massive favour. Click the link in the description below. And please go and download OneFootball right now, where you can get all the stats and information from today's game. It was a game... it was an interesting game. It was a one-sided game, but you can get all the info there. And of course, as well, maybe you want to keep up to date with all the transfer gossip ahead of the transfer window, which is only a couple of weeks away now. And of course, City could dive into that market themselves. If you want to do that and get all the news from across the world of football, and as well, help support my channel a tiny bit, which would be appreciated, download OneFootball right now. You can scan the QR code next to my face or just click the link in the description below. Go and do it. What are you waiting for? But anyway, let's go on to that game. I mean, it wasn't really a game worth remembering, but sometimes it really is just about grinding out the results, especially at this time of the year. And I'm saying that now as I set out looking at a very miserable, grainy window. My position, by the way, I'm sat in front of the window, still haven't got a studio space. I will eventually. But on a day like today, when it's cold, a little bit wet, a little bit windy, and it's lunchtime and you can't be arsed with a game, and the opposition turn up to do one thing that is just destroy and time waste, well, it doesn't really matter how you get the 3 points as long as you get those 3 points. And we did do that. Wolves today, I don't blame them for being negative and defensive, but they were very negative and very defensive and had zero ambition at any point other than just launching it long to Traore to hopefully do something out of nothing. And if I'm being honest, in the end, it was Wolves' own tactics that probably got them down to 10 men. I'm pretty certain Jimenez just forgot that he was on a yellow card within seconds and went back to the time-wasting tactics that they were clearly doing from the off, which then got himself sent off, which was kind of silly. I felt a little bit for him, but not at the same time. And I know the penalty. Let's get on to the penalty. I think the penalty was soft, personally. I do think it probably hit there on the underside of his arm, stroke, pit, or something like that. But it'd be disingenuous to ignore at least two stronger shouts of a penalty. For one, for me, in the first half, when it hit his hand and he leaned in, that to me was a penalty. I think that he leaned into it. And if you'd given that one, you would have been... I understand why you could have complained as a Wolves fan, or maybe Manchester City's rivals, but I think that was a penalty, at least a strong shout. There's a couple of moments as well, one in particular maybe on Sterling, which he had a decent shout for. But overall, I don't think City were undeserved of their 3 points. It was absolutely one-sided in every sense, and they did come to destroy and time waste, particularly empathised by Saiss as well, when he went down, clutching his eyes, rolling about as if he'd just been shot when there was nothing wrong with him. The only reason he went down to the floor was because he got beaten and he was embarrassed and tried to claim something desperately. But other than that, really, City kind of huffed and puffed and struggled to blow Wolves' door down. And to be fair to Wolves and Bruno Lage, they are good defensively. They are solid. Connor Cody was stoic and stood strong in the face of Manchester City's pressure. But this very much felt like a hangover after the RB Leipzig game. We weren't at our fluid best by any stretch, but we did create the chances. I remember a couple of these chances. Gundogan went off the line. Bernardo probably should have scored. Sterling had a half chance or two as well either side of his goal. Jack Grealish missed the biggest chance of all with a sitter in front of goal. Overall, and towards the end as well, City were faffing around going forward when we could have killed the game or just kept the ball a little bit better towards the end. But overall, it always felt like a goal was relatively inevitable. It never really felt like we were under any pressure whatsoever to concede at the other end. I mean, they offered zero, absolutely zero. And I know City are hard to play against, but Palace and Southampton have come to the Etihad and given us games, and we're not impossible to get, I guess is what I'm trying to imply there. We really are not this impossible team to, we're very good, but you can create chances against us if you want to, especially if you've got the pace of Traore and the quality of like Neves and so on. They didn't want to, and I'm fine with that. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is I think City deserved the victory, even if it wasn't fluid. I don't think Wolves' defensive action was anywhere near as valiant as people suggested it was. It was good, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like it therefore deserved a point. I don't think they did, personally. I think City were the better team by a mile, and you've got to have a little bit more ambition than that and not just essentially hope for luck. You got to get a bit of luck. Maybe I'm being too harsh on Wolves there, but nothing against them whatsoever. I think I was just frustrated by people like Saiss rolling about, holding his face. But Manchester City overall, I don't think we played badly. We didn't play brilliantly, but I honestly don't think we played that badly. I think they made it hard for us, and fair play to them for doing that. But I think City got the job done. I've got to give Sterling some credit. I thought Sterling today was actually City's best player going forward. Yeah, he does occasionally run down into empty channels, but you've got to bear in mind that Sterling's game is all about high-risk reward activities. Essentially, high risk actions. He runs forward, he tries to beat people and tries to create space. It won't always come off, but the idea of what he does is that repetition is that one time it will come off, it'll create a big moment, or it'll make them sit a little bit deeper, which creates space for someone else, and that's when Sterling's at his very best. Over on the right today, he ran at Ryan Aït-Nouri and Saïs an awful lot and nearly got a lot of joy. And I've got to give the young fullback, by the way, Ryan Aït-Nouri. He's a good fullback. City were linked to him, and I wish we'd kind of got him now. He had a decent game, but still, Sterling was our biggest nuisance, put it that way. And of course, as well, I'd be lying and disingenuous if I didn't say when he stepped up for the penalty, I didn't go, oh, you're kidding me. But he put it down the centre of the goal so coolly, his 100th Premier League goal. I admired the confidence in to step up to take that, given the situation with him around penalties and so on. He didn't take one in the Champions League, of course, and I admire that. I genuinely admire it. His 100th Premier League goal. Also, as well, in terms of landmarks, he won't have many quieter days than this, but his 100th Premier League clean sheet for Ederson as well, which is lovely stuff. But back to Sterling, I'm really happy for him. He's definitely become useful again. I don't think he's still at his very, very, very best, but he's definitely looking like a man who's starting to believe in his form, and that can only benefit Manchester City, really, and I'm very happy about that. Elsewhere, I mean, Jesus was fine, but he definitely had the kind of day where he was a little bit more hesitant than he has been in recent weeks. He was taking a little bit too long to do anything and everything, and a little too slow on the ball when he could have gone for goal a bit more occasionally, and he was fine. Grealish had a relatively indifferent game, if I'm being honest. He missed that sitter as well. I don't think he did anything wrong as such. He didn't have a bad game or anything like that. He wasn't like, having a stinker out there and giving the ball away sloppily. But he definitely has to probably do a little bit more. I'm sure that will come with time. It reminds me right now, Grealish, of when Foden first started coming into the Manchester City team. And I know Foden was young, but Foden was very much teacher's petty and tried to impress Pep by keeping it simple and rarely went on the kind of dribbles that we see him doing now when he's confident in the team. And I do wonder if Grealish has to start being a little bit more arrogant and stop trying to be the teacher's pet and stop trying to impress Pep, but actually play for himself a bit more. And I think eventually he will get there. He will get there. It'll be next year when he comes to his best. And I know people will go the money or whatever, but that's how it is sometimes with footballers. And elsewhere, I thought Gundogan and Bernardo, they were decent. I don't think they had the best game today. Bernardo lively everywhere, and Gundogan probably rightfully came off of Phil Foden. Rodri was asleep a little bit in the first half, but then held the midfield together entirely. Cancelo on the right was interesting. I'm pretty certain Cancelo was on the right because I'm pretty certain Walker was on the naughty step. I can't confirm that, and we'll never be able to prove it. I'm sure Guardiola would even deny it and say it was a rotation thing, but I'm pretty certain he was on the naughty step because it was petulant midweek, and Guardiola will make sure players know that if they do stuff like that, you don't get to walk into the team consequence-free because there is a consequence for your actions, unfortunately. So I got a feeling Zinchenko got the nod for that reason, and Cancelo went to right back. And Cancelo was creative and intriguing and intuitive as he always is. And Zinchenko had a solid game at left back as well. He's a very good ball recycler. And I think overall, Laporte and Diaz held up everything they needed to do with their bustling forwards, and Traore and Jimenez, well, he was on the pitch, of course. They didn't really have much to do, to be honest. The Jimenez thing, by the way, it probably had to be a red card in the end. It was a bizarre one. I think the yellow was sort of soft, if I'm being honest, the yellow card before it, the first one, but you kind of had no choice but to send him off for the second one. Like, genuinely, it's like he forgot what was going on, but you had to kind of send him off. It was silly and stupid, but footballers sometimes lose their heads. But that's what happened with Jimenez there. Overall, though, it was a perfectly fine performance, a forgettable game, but I don't really care. All I care right now is the Premier League table, and I'm looking at it right now, and City are top with 4 points. Chelsea and Liverpool have just kicked off, fingers crossed. By the time you watch this video, we've got a bit of good news there. I'm imagining Liverpool today. Liverpool currently playing against Villa. Chelsea against Leeds. Imagine, fingers crossed. Guys, thanks for watching this video. Watch-alongs will return soon. I'm just still currently moving around the house trying to find somewhere, but the guest room upstairs will be turned into an office soon, so this week hopefully. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to check out OneFootball and link in the description below. I'm about to hiccup, so I'm going to get off this video quickly. Scott Dennery, legend, Patreon producer. Like this video, subscribe and all that kind of stuff in a bit.